Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah. We thank the Most High Aliyahu for allowing us to come out and gather again on another set apart Shabbat. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and get started with our service. We're going to have our blowing of the shofar by Zarzakan Aliyahu. He's going to blow the shofar. Then immediately following, we will have our prayer by our brother Shlomo. He's going to come up and pray us into the service. Hallelujah. Let everybody turn towards the east and let's face towards Jerusalem.
Dear Aliyahu, thank you for letting us be able to make it to another set apart Shabbat. I want to just thank you for letting us all be able to make it here safely and without any hurt, harm, and keeping us from hurt, harm, and danger, and not any accidents. I pray that you just baruch this lesson, and that you write it upon our hearts and our inward parts, so that way we understand it and receive the message that you were given in Moreh today. Thank you, and praise your son of our name. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hold on one second. I want to give a prayer for my brother Zabu.
Pray for my father Sabu, and you help him with his back. He is in a lot of pain, and I hope that the pain passes. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Today we're going to continue with our lesson from last week, which we started, not last Shabbat, but Shabbat before last, we started a series of a fundamental understanding and approach to the Hebrew Scriptures. And the reason for this particular teaching is because of some of the messages we teach and the angles that we come from. Sometimes it appears or it causes people to think that we are racist or biased or separatist and things of that nature. But that's only because when people pick up the Bible, they approach the Bible one way, and that's from a Christian perspective. Now, I said something at the beginning of this lesson when I first started. I gave my reason for wanting to do this lesson. And I think it was a lesson I did on From the Wilderness into the Kingdom. Someone viewed that particular lesson and they said it was racist or I'm racist. And I understand why they might perceive that and why it come off as that way. And the reason behind it is, like I said, I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, when people possess the Hebrew Scripture, commonly known as the Bible, they don't know what they possess in their hands. They really don't know what it is. They take it as a book or a religious book. or a book for a religious people, and mainly Christians. But I always tell people, the Hebrew Scriptures does not endorse any world religion, not Christianity, not Judaism, and not Islam. It doesn't endorse any religion. I say you only see the word Christian in the Hebrew Scriptures 3 times, and not once do you hear the Hamashiach, nor do you hear his people refer to themselves as Christians. But outsiders, those who are looking at these people, they are calling them and identifying them as these things. They would not have known what that was during that time. So, when we're looking at the Scriptures, it's very important to understand that this book is about a people and their Elohim. It starts off that way, it ends that way. This book starts off with a marriage of a people, and it ends with what? The marriage of a people. Revelation is all about a marriage. When we go back to a traditional, a biblical Hebraic marriage, we look at what's required. A groom, bride, 2 witnesses, 7 signatures. That's a wedding party in Hebrew. When you go to Revelation, what do you have? A groom coming back to do what? Receive his bride. But before he receives it, he do what? Send what? The 2 witnesses. Then you have what? Everything else is built off of what? 7. 7 vials, 7 bowls, 7 judgments, 7 trumpets. You see how it works? So when we look at this, we have to know if it's about these people in the beginning, it has to be about these people at the end. It has to be about the same people in the middle. For some reason, people, when they pick up the Bible, they think that the so-called Old Testament, let me put it that way, the so-called Old Testament is about, most of it's about the Jews or Jewish people, which is incorrect in its own, because we know that the 12 tribes were made up more than just one tribe called Judah. So, either way, it's not just about the Israelites in the Old Testament. Then when you get to the New Testament, it's something different. Now it's about the Gentiles. That's why when we did the lessons on the Gentiles, we went in the scripture to show that these people that were being called Gentiles, they were Israelites who had been scattered amongst the nations, and preferably the house of Israel, who had been cut off or written a bill of divorce and were no longer under the covenant at that time. So when we're looking at this stuff, we have to be able to see and understand what's going on. And I often tell people, I think we were talking about it right before the service started today, that Ephraim is the key to understanding the Hebrew Scriptures. Ephraim is so important to understanding the Hebrew Scripture, because we just said the house of Israel, whom Ephraim was the leader of, was written a bill of divorce. But we know the covenant was for the whole house of Jacob. So when Hamashiach comes, he said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Why is he only coming to them? Why isn't his focus on the house of Judah? That's the understanding that we have to have, that Ephraim was the one cut off and divorced and had to be brought back under the covenant. And the only way Ephraim could be brought back under the covenant is through the blood of Hamashiach. He had to die. And that's why we tell people, no, it sounds bad when you say, you've been taught that Yahuwah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him. No, he did not die for the world. He died for Israel. Israel was divided at that time. And the only way Israel could return back under that covenant, the house of Israel, somebody had to pay a price. The blood of Hamashiach is what renewed the covenant for us and opened up the door for Ephraim or the house of Israel to be able to return back under the covenant. And so now what you have is, and what we're dealing with in this dispensation, this is a window of opportunity from that time on up until now for what? Ephraim or the house of Israel to return, so later they can be what? Reunited with their brother Yehuda or Judah. Remember he said until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled? This whole dispensation is about the house of Israel. Because they were the ones divorced. And so a lot of our teaching, yes, because people lack understanding of what they're reading, is going to look and seem like we may be what do you guys say, racist or whatever? But we're not. We're just reading the book and dealing with it in its context. So with that being said, let's go to we'll start back at 1 Corinthians. I want to thank the Most High for our reader today, too. Zarzakan, our chief elder, Zarzakan Gabaryahu, he's going to read for us. And he's going to start us off with 1 Corinthians, beginning at the 10th chapter, start at the first verse.
1 Corinthians 10 verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moshe in the cloud, and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Hamashiach.
Now, when we look at this, now remember we're reading in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians. Now, it's often been taught that when you read about the Galatians, the church at Ephesus or Ephesians, Corinthians, that these are Gentiles. Because everybody think the letters of Apostle Shaul or Paul are letters written to Gentiles. No. They were written to Israelites who were in these places. I'll say it again. They were written to Israelites who were in these places. Y'all remember when we did this study on Galatians, I was talking about the word Galatian come from the root galut. And when you go look up galut, it means what? Jews that were exiled out from their land, Israel. They were exiled Israelites. So when you're looking at these letters, it's very important that you get an understanding of what you're reading. There's no such thing as the good news going to a foreign nation or a people outside of Israel. And when I say outside of Israel, I mean the people, not the land. Outside of that people. Now, when we're looking at Corinthians, if these were Gentiles that Apostle Shaul was speaking to, why would he address them as moreover, my brethren? He said, I would not that you should be what? Ignorant, how that all our fathers, now let me show you he wasn't talking about Gentiles. Remember he said, our fathers, show possessions, a possession. He said, our father, he greeted them as brethren. Brethren, now he says, our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. What cloud was it that Apostle Shaul and the brethren that he's talking to in Corinthians? It was the Israelite that left Egypt. And they were what? Led in the wilderness by what? Cloud by day and what by night? Fire by night. Thank you, Coach. And it said they all passed through the sea. What infamous sea would this be?
Red Sea. Jordan?
Huh?
No.
Scooby-Doo moment there. The Reed or Red Sea. So you know, first of all, when you're reading in Corinthians, I don't know what's wrong with my language there. When you're reading in Corinthians, what's the first thing that should come to your mind when you read this first verse? First of all, there was no such thing as what?
New Testament.
The New Testament, first of all. Second of all, there was no such thing as a land called Corinth. There was no such thing as a people called Romans. There was no such thing as a people called Greeks. These were nations that developed later on, many years on down. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Now, it said, and were all immersed unto Musha in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat. All of this going on where? In the wilderness. It said, and did all drink the same what? Spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. They drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. That's very important. They drank of that spiritual rock that followed them. Is this a physical rock? Who is this rock that followed them? Okay, then, what is good? It said that followed them, and that rock was what? Hamashiach. So did Hamashiach just appear and come on the scene when Miriam also was overshadowed by the Ruach and gave birth? Or was he here from the beginning? That's why we started off the lesson finding out who actually is speaking in the book of Bereshit or Genesis when we read it. It's Hamashiach. Most people always have been under the impression when they pick up the scriptures or even when they're church and they read the Bible, that this is the Father speaking in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, all these places. It's not. It's Hamashiach. That's why it said all things were what? Created, made by him, and there wasn't anything that was made or created that wasn't what? By his hands. Matter of fact, the first time man heard from the Father was when? When Mashiach was immersed, he said, "This is my son, in whom I'm well pleased." That's the first time man had heard from him. Up until that point, nah. So, if that's Hamashiach that was with them in the wilderness, who would it be with them during this time when they were doing the Messianic teachings? Who would the people he would be having a relationship during that time? It would be Yashra'al. He had a relationship with them then. So of course when he comes again, he said, "I'll come to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." That relationship will be with who? His same people. We're going to ask Zarzakan to get Shemot 15:6, which is Exodus 15:6. And then after that, he will go to Yashra'al or Isaiah 48, verse 12 and 13.
Book of Shemot or Exodus 14, verse 6. And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him.
That's on 15:6.
Oh, you said 15. Exodus 15, verse 6. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, is become glorious in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, have dashed in pieces the enemy.
Okay, then, so your right hand on Yahuwah has become esteemed in power, and your right hand what? Had dashed into pieces the enemy. Let's go to Yashra'al 48 and 12 and 13. Isaiah 48, 12 and 13.
Say that again.
Isaiah, the 48th chapter, verse 12 and 13.
Yashra'al or Isaiah 48, verse 12. Hearken unto me, O Yaakov, and Yashra'al, my call. I am he. I am the first. I also am the last. My hand also have laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand have spanned the heavens. When I call unto them, they stand up together.
So, what we have here is, in Exodus, what is going on here, you see what? Yahuwah, through his son Yahsha'al, he's what? He's showing his might, his power, because at this time he has defeated who? Exodus. The Egyptians. Of Mizraim. So, now, in Yashra'al, he said, hearken unto me, O Yaakov, or Jacob, and Israel. What's the next word after Israel? My called. My called. He said, I am he, and I am the first, also I am the last. Now, that's very important. He's showing his might, his power to Yashra'al. He's showing that Israel is his what? His call. Now, let's go to Aliyahu, the 2nd chapter. Or Jeremiah, the 2nd chapter, verse 1, 2, and 3.
Yirmiyahu 2, verse 1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, I remember you, the kindness of your youth, the love of your espousals, when you went after me in the wilderness, in a land that was not sown. Yashra'al was set apart unto Yahweh, and the first fruits of his increase, all that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith Yahweh.
Okay, now, right here, this is very important. So what you have here in Jeremiah, at Sinai you had something to take place with the nation of Yashra'al and Yahushua. Anybody know what took place at Sinai? Okay then, they accepted what? Okay, I heard the right word back there in the back of the room. He made a proposal to, it was a marriage proposal. Yeah, it laid on the contract, yeah. So he said, go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying. Now this is what the Most High is speaking through the prophet Yashra'al. He said, go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus says Yahuwah, I remember you, the kindness of your youth, the love of your what? Espousal. So with that word espousal we get in the Hebrew is kalula. Comes from the Hebrew 36:23. In your strong, kalula, which means espousal. It means hence a son's wife, bride, or from a father's perspective, a daughter-in-law. We'll say that again. It means a bride, a son's wife, daughter-in-law, spouse. So what is taking place? He entered into what? Enter into marriage with the nation of Yashra'al. That's very important because you got a lot of people around here, they on some other stuff. They don't know the position of the nation of Yashra'al. And let's go back to that third verse, Zarla can.
Jeremiah 2 verse 3. Yashra'al was set apart unto Yahuwah, and the first fruits of his increase. All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith Yahuwah.
Okay, the Yashra'al said, set apart unto who? Yahuwah. The nation of Israel, or Yashra'al, are set apart, are taken from all people on this earth. They're Yahuwah's portion. They're his. The nation of Yashra'al belongs strictly to who? Yahuwah. The Father, they're his. You notice it didn't say anything about other nations? It said Yashra'al of Israel is his portion, his first fruit. Okay, we're going to go to Shemot, the 19th chapter. Beginning at the 5th verse, 6th verse, and we're going to jump down to the 8th.
The book of Shemot, or Exodus 19 verse 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an esteemed nation, esteemed, excuse me?
Or set apart.
Set apart, right, my mistake. Set apart nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Yashra'al.
Stop right there. Let me deal with these first two. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a what? A peculiar treasure. Unto who? Unto me, being Yahuwah. Above all people. He said, you're going to be what? A peculiar treasure unto himself, and you're going to be above all people. He said, for all the earth is mine. He said, and you shall be unto me a what? Kingdom of priests, and a set apart nation. He said, you shall be what? A kingdom of priests and a set apart nation. Now, this is how you know Israel has to return back under the original covenant. And I did the teaching on the book of the covenant for a reason. This verse here explains the original posture and position Israel was supposed to be in. Israel was not supposed to be a kingdom with a priesthood. Yahuwah's original plan for Israel to be a kingdom of priests. Why would Israel need to be a kingdom of priests?
Grafting the other nations?
Huh?
Grafting the other nations?
Well, you're on the right track, but no, there ain't gonna be no grafting in other nations. But where are the other nations going to be during the time when Israel reigned?
Where they at?
Huh?
Exactly where they are now.
Exactly where they are now. Thank you. They're going to be exactly where they are now. How do we know that? Because you look like you could answer. Go ahead.
Why not? This says, the kings shall bring their gifts from their nations and stuff like so. That means that wherever they are, they'll bring the gifts.
They're going to bring those gifts. And also, he said, remember, and yearly, what are the nations going to have to do?
Come up for tabernacle.
Come up for tabernacle. So Israel is supposed to be a kingdom of priests because somebody going to have to oversee the nations. And y'all ever notice with the Levitical priesthood, were they not what I would call stabilized or in one location at all times?
Yes, the people took them into their homes.
You know, you had a temple, they served and ministered from that temple. They didn't have temples spread it out through all over the place. They had one location. And the priest was where? Or the high priest where? At,
They were at the temple.
yeah, at the temple, at that location. But we're not of the Levitical order or under the Levitical order. What order are we under? The Melchizedek order. But you ever notice what about Melchizedek, as some people say, he roamed throughout the earth? Y'all look at me like I'm crazy.
When you say Melchizedek order, what does that mean?
Okay, then. We have what's called the Melchizedek order, which is the order that Yashra'al would have been under had they not done what? Broke the covenant. Now, we have what is called the Abijah, and there's it's a Zadokim or priestly order, and it started with it goes from Noah moving all the way forward. Matter of fact, it even goes before Noah. And what you have is, through that order, it goes all the way down and went all the way up to Hamashiach. Now, we know that there can be only what, when it comes to Israel. Has there ever been a time Israel was allowed to have two high priests?
No.
Ministers serving in the same dispensation or same time?
No.
When Hamashiach was immersed, who was the high priest at that time?
I know that his Yohanan's dad was a priest. I don't think he was the high priest. It was probably still Caiaphas.
Thank you. It was Caiaphas at that time. But y'all ever notice that Caiaphas didn't immerse Hamashiach or inaugurate him? But who did? It was John. John's father was what?
Levi. Priest.
He was of the Abijah. That's why Caiaphas would have never been able to immerse him. That's why John had to do it. Because the Abijah went all the way down. It's a lineage, it's a line that goes all the way down, and John was the last of it. That's why he had to immerse Hamashiach. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll end up doing a lesson on that. I thought, because I never did it on it, did it?
You said something about that. Because I wanted to transfer a priesthood.
Yeah. That when it was a transfer of the priesthood.
He did it for us, it was probably like months ago, but he did one.
Yeah. So only Yehukanah could immerse Hamashiach because he was of the Abishah. It was the Zadokim, or a righteous line of Zadokim. And so, I went to that. Why did I go to that? I'm thinking about something. Somebody asked a question, right?
Yeah, she did.
Who was that?
Oh, yeah, Melchizedek. Yeah. And so that's why it was of that order. That's why only he could immerse Hamashiach. Because remember, the Abrahamic covenant, it didn't just start with Abraham making a sacrifice. Something happened with Abraham even before then. Y'all remember what happened with Lot? What happened with Lot that Abraham had to get involved?
Oh, the kings.
You're on the right track. Go ahead. Oh, go.
When they killed him?
The king went to battle and then Lot got taken up.
Yeah. Why did the king? Yeah, the kings went to battle and Lot got what?
Got taken captive.
Got taken captive. So what did Abraham do?
Had to go get him.
Abraham had some kings, some friends that were what? Kings as well. And he went and what?
Rallied them all together. 312 was it?
Yeah, he rallied them all together. He got some of them in. They went and they went to war and they what?
Got all the stuff back.
Yeah, they won, got all the stuff back, including who?
Lot.
Lot. And so what happened afterward? Did not Abraham go out to do what?
Went out to war.
Yeah, but he went out to meet somebody.
Melchizedek met him on.
Yeah, he went to Melchizedek and he met him with what? Bread and wine. So all of this goes back to the original covenant, or the Abrahamic covenant. Remember when I did the teaching about the book of the covenant versus the book of the law? What was the original plan of Yahuwah with Israel versus what happened? And that's when we went through the, about a proposal, covenant meal, blood ratification, all that stuff. So that's taking us all the way back to Melchizedek and his order. Israel was always under the Melchizedek order. If it had not been for the sin of the golden calf, that would never have been a Levitical priesthood. The Levitical priesthood was temporary. There was never supposed to be a Levitical order, a Levitical priesthood, because what? Yahuwah, he said he had chosen to use what? Under the Melchizedek order, who was going to be operating? You remember, we're going to use the firstborn sons of all of Israel? Not just Aaron's son, the Levites. He was going to use the firstborn sons of all the tribes. Y'all skipped over that part in Sunday school?
Because the first time I read everything that opens the matrix is his, that's in Exodus, right? Or is that in Genesis?
Exodus. Yeah, because remember before the sin of the golden calf, he wasn't going to, there was no such thing as a Levitical priesthood, and there wasn't going to be, because he had already told Israel he was the first, or the firstborn of all the sons of Israel was his portion. They were going to be doing the services. So, let me jump back on to, would you stop?
Exodus 19 and 6, and you wanted me to do verse 8.
Yeah, verse 8.
Exodus 19, verse 8. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahuwah hath spoken, we will do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahuwah.
So, what has just happened here? The people accepted the proposal. Now, who are the people? Yashra'al. go to Tehillim or Psalms 89 and 28. So far from the first lesson, this lesson, we see how everything pertains to Israel. Israel is a special people. They belong to Yahuwah. Yahuwah is the Elohim of Israel and none else. We see in all these things. And what I like about it, we'll let the scriptures talk. Because, see, people always want to say that we're saying something. No, we're not saying anything. The scripture has already stated it. We're just reciting what is written. Yeah, tell 89:20. I think I said 89:20. So I didn't give a reference.
Yeah, you say it. Tehillim or Psalms 89 verse 28. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him.
Stop right there. That's very important. So when Yahuwah entered into covenant with the nation of Yashra'al, how many days did it take for them to break the covenant? Or how many years? Huh? They immediately broke it. So, when they broke this covenant, how did they break this covenant?
They committed adultery on the night of their honeymoon.
They committed adultery on the night of their honeymoon. Now, what's the first commandment? Love who? Love Yahuwah with all your heart, what? Mind, soul. Now, the actions that the nation of Yashra'al took, does that sound like somebody who loved their husband with all their heart, mind, and soul? Not at all. So what happened then when they broke the covenant?
Plague broke out.
I mean, what happened? I mean, as far as the people, what was instituted? First of all, what was the action that they took, that they committed that broke the actual covenant? Yeah, not only worship, but did they not build it? To build a golden calf and begin to worship, and they even gave him a name. Anybody know what they named the cow?
They named after y'all.
They named it after you. That's bold, isn't it? Israel was the originator of tithe money. I'm like, wow. So, read that verse again.
Tehillim or Psalms 89 verse 28. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him.
My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. Now, when Yashra'al broke the covenant, when Yashra'al did all of that, the Most High was supposed to do what with Yashra'al at that time? Some of them, all, just all of them. He was supposed to kill all of them. Was he going to kill all of them? Huh? He was? Y'all sure?
Except the ones, wasn't it Aaron? No, it was some that didn't follow the captain, telling people not to do it.
Oh no, Aaron, he followed. He one gave permission. He allowed it, I mean.
There was atonement made that day where the priests went in out the camp and started slaying folk.
Yeah. They went in and out of the camp, started slaying for. So when we see that, yeah, he was supposed to kill them all. And he was gonna kill them all, but what happened? Moses intervened, and what did he do at Moses' request? He spared them, but what did he do? He interceded, and this is when he instituted what? The Levitical priesthood or the Levitical order. It's just like that brother said. He did what? And he went in and out of the camp and they slew what?
The people.
They slew the people. They killed how many?
A lot.
3,000. And y'all do know that goes all the way back to Pentecost. That day, when that took place, at Sinai,
3rd day of the month.
he killed 3,000. Y'all don't find it strange when you go to Acts the 2nd chapter on the day of Pentecost? Just like all that took place at Sinai with the mountain catching on fire, what happened in the upper room? Did not fire appear in cloven tongues? The same thing. And it came through like a what? People say a mighty rushing wind.
Confirmed them.
And how many were added to the congregation that day? 3,000. Same thing happened then. Same thing happened then. He took 3,000. He added 3,000. So, Yashra'al broke that covenant. Just because Yashra'al broke the covenant, what did the fathers declare? What did he say when he established that covenant? What happened with Abraham when he entered into the covenant? Because that covenant is supposed to be what? Between two parties? And both parties have to do what? Walk in covenant? But what did the Most High do with Abraham? Did he not? Abraham became very what? Sleepy and laid down to get him a little power nap. And while he was asleep, he what? He saw a great vision, didn't he? A horror of darkness. And what did the Most High say to Abraham during that time?
Know for sure that your siege, that your stranger in the land is not theirs.
It is know for sure that your seed shall be a stranger and the land is not theirs. And that nation shall what?
Evil and treat them 400 years.
Yeah, inflict them 400 years. So, Abraham was asleep during this time, so Yahuwah himself did what?
Made the covenant.
No, I thought,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Oh, okay. So Yahuwah himself, he walked between the pieces. Because one thing about man, just like Israel broke that covenant. What's that? Israel broke that covenant. So now, the covenant stands on what? The word of Yahuwah alone. And what's one thing Yahuwah cannot do? Or will not do? He won't go back on his word. He will not lie. He will not go back on his word. So now when we read the Psalms, so Tehillim, I had a reason for going there. Israel broke the covenant. But the covenant was not based upon Israel keeping it. It was based upon Yahuwah's word. So now, this covenant has become what? A perpetual covenant. Israel will always what? Exist. Israel will always what? Be his people. So, what we see here in Tehillim, we're going to read, it says, my mercy will I keep for him for what? Evermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. Go ahead, you read. Oh, my bad. You go 29 down to 37.
Okay. Psalms 89, verse 29. His seed also will I make to endure forever.
He's gonna make him to endure for a little while.
His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. If his children forsake my law, and walk not in my judgment, if they break my statutes, and keep not my commandments, then will I visit their transgression with the rod, and their iniquity with stripes. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail.
Now read that one more time.
Nevertheless, verse 33, nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail.
Now pay attention to verse 34.
Psalms 89, verse 34, my covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips.
He said, my covenant will I not break. He said, no what? Alter the thing that has gone out of my lips. So Israel is going to always be his what? His people always going to be in covenant, always going to be his chosen, always going to be what? Above all nations. That, let me tell you, from the original plan, that's what he's restoring Israel for, to take them back to the original plan. To rule above the nations and teach them the righteousness of Yahuwah. Go ahead, Father Ken.
Verse 35, once have I sworn by my set apartness that I will not lie unto Dawood. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as a faithful witness in heaven.
Okay, verse 35, what's going on right there? Once I have sworn by my set apartness that I will not lie unto Dawood. Or David, for your griefs. What's going on there? Oh, you look like you've been answered.
He's just establishing his covenant. Or even David reciting the covenant made unto him.
Yeah, there was a covenant made unto who? Dawood or David. And what was that covenant? What was the promise?
His seed shall endure forever.
Okay, seed shall do it forever, and what? Say it again, Okoti.
The scepter shall not depart from you.
Okay, yeah, it's the scepter should not depart from him. Remember, he told David what? His throne should never go in need or want or need for a king. There will be always what? A king on the throne, just like you said, the scepter should not depart from him. So we see going on that. All of this was to show that even though the covenant was broken with the chosen people, the covenant wasn't based upon Israel keeping it. It was based upon Yahuwah's word, that he can't go back on his word. So Israel will always be, there will always be his people, and nobody will be equal to Israel. The question was asked last week, and it was asked, can other nations be grafted in? Because we were teaching on the wild olive branch. And we read the scriptures to show where, or the two olive branches. And we read in the scripture where the two olive branches were Israel and Judah, or the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And the question was asked, can Gentile nations or somebody outside of Israel, can they be grafted into that branch? And my answer was no. And to this day, it's no. For reason being, Israel have laws when it comes to that type of thing. Even in natural horticulture or whatever, you know, whenever you go back to Torah, I think the term is Kalua. Israel has the laws of Kalua, I believe it is, where every seed has to be what? After its time. Every what? Every tree, everything had to be after its own time. Even when it came down to the fabrics and stuff that we would wear. Israel, they were not even permitted to wear mixed fabrics. So it was explained that when you go look to that word grafted, the word Sion or Zion means to be grafted. It means grafting, or to be grafted. But we also understand that when it comes to dealing with a grafting process, whenever something is being grafted into another, it has to be in close relation to what? The parent or root stock. It has to have the same genetic makeup. You can't graft something foreign into a natural. It won't survive. It'll die every time. And so this is why we show people that in the Hebrew scriptures, no, you cannot find in the Hebrew scriptures where it talks about a foreign people or nation being grafted in. That's unheard of. In Genesis and Revelation, you don't find that. And it was asked, well, if that's the case, how do you explain to Gentiles or aliens or people not of the nation of Israel, how do you explain that to them then? What would be their position? Well, in Yahuwah's kingdom, every kingdom, you have what is called servants. That's not a bad thing. The roles we fulfill today in the United States of America, we're servants. We're in somebody else's kingdom, but we're servants. It's going to be the same thing with the nations. They're going to be servants. And even though the scripture says, treat the strangers, that the ones that, will follow the Torah and all, as ones born in the land. Yeah, you will be treated like one born in the land, but that does not make you the people. What it's saying is, give you citizenship in the land, because you're going to agree to something. You're going to agree to follow the what? Laws, statutes, and judgments of that land. We are foreigners in this land. This is not our home as Israelites. But did not we receive citizenship? And what came along with that citizenship? Benefits. You receive certain benefits in this land when you are a citizen versus aliens or somebody who doesn't have what? Citizenship yet. You ever seen a person with a green card and all this stuff? You ever notice there are certain privileges and stuff that they don't have right or access to? Because they're not citizens. When they will receive full benefits, or full citizenship, they receive the benefits of American citizens. And that's what the nation is going to have. They're going to be given citizenship to live among only one particular stranger nation. That's, remember we went over Gary? Yep. Hebrews 16:16, the ones that will follow the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahuwah. That particular stranger. Not all strangers. And it's just like America. You can't be a citizen of America until you do what? You have to first oblige and obligate and commit to what? To law. Put it in writing that I will what? Follow the laws and what? Of this nation. And that's the same thing the Ger will be doing, the one that will be able to live among Israel. They will get citizenship because they're going to what? Submit and follow after the ways of Yahuwah and the laws that he has established for the nation of Yashra'al. That's what you get. How does that all the atrocities that Yahuwah's people have gone through in these kingdoms being subdued by them, now all of a sudden, when he preaches about his kingdom, that I got quiet because I know it's going to pick up. That all of a sudden, Now Yahuwah's people are in their kingdom. And they're walking around looking at the same people that hung them on trees, burned them, sick their German shepherds and dogs on them, shot them down with fire hoses. Now all of a sudden these people are walking hand in hand and equal with them in their kingdom. Now y'all know that's madness. That's pure madness. That is not even going to happen. And that's why I did a lesson on the kingdoms. Showing that when Yahuwah came, the kingdom, the message of the kingdom was for Israel. And not the other nations. He ain't go to no other nation talking about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. When they were amongst, Rome was ruling. And this is what I was trying to point out last week. The Israelites were the people who they were speaking to concerning the kingdom. They would not have been speaking to Romans about the kingdom is at hand. Now Herod, let me tell you something. Herod, Caesar, all of them had a field day killing people. So you got to know, when we're reading all this stuff, it's the reason why everything is focused on Israel. Because the book is about Israel. And, and it's so sad that this is hard for a lot of people. This message or these messages, when you get to the truth of what is written in the scripture, it's very hard for a lot of people to accept. Because they've been taught wrong so many years, until when you actually make them go back and read this stuff, it just overwhelms them. They don't know what to do. But you have a few out there of Gentiles and those of the other nations. They understand it. They get it. They know exactly what we're saying is the truth and how it goes down. Because I'm telling y'all something, they really want to attack and come after us, all of Israel. A lot of people out there, they made up their mind before they have to serve and submit and subject to what they call a black people. Some of them said they'd rather go to hell. They don't even want to go to heaven. And this is the the position that they've taken. So you look at, and even with that CNN thing, how they want to try to attack all Israelites. Because let me tell you something. These people see some of the Israelite brothers from the camps on YouTube, Facebook. The first thing you see is a lot of these camps, when you hear the word Hebrew Israelite, or you go research, it's a reason why that's the first thing you see and the first thing you hear. It's because that's what they want the world to see. They want to see these brothers that seem to be radical. And I said seem to be radical. Some of them do get a little lost out there with their message and go to focusing on the Europeans or calling them the devil, and most of them are. And but it's one of them things where they want to take that and try to put all Israelite congregations in the same basket. But when it comes to Christendom, we don't take, that most people fail to realize the Ku Klux Klan was a what? Do y'all know that was supposed to be a Christian movement? Do you not know, though most time when you hear about abortion clinics and stuff being blown up, they're Christian radicals? Every time. And this is what happened. You never see them want to associate themselves with that. You start speaking of the Ku Klux Klan, most of them churches are Christian churches, they don't want to associate with that. They try to distance themselves from that. But no, it was a Christian movement. It was so bad that even the Roman Catholic Church the Pope came and apologized, did a national apology one time for Catholicism. He apologized on behalf of all the hundreds of millions of people that they killed in the name of Christianity. Carried the cross at the same time. But they want to attack us. And let me tell y'all something. The world know what time it is. They know that it time's up. They know Yahuwah is going to redeem his people. And they're shaking and trembling because they want to hold on to the power that they have as long as they can. But what they don't realize, it has nothing to do with us waking up. It has to do with the time period in which Yahuwah gave them. This thing has an expiration date. Just like Israel was in Egypt, the Most High, he found them saying, what, he was just going to go get them. They cried enough. When their cries reached to heaven, what did he decide to do? To deliver his people. But the crazy thing now, Israel don't even have to cry. Because the whole thing was placed within a time capsule. And at the end of this time span, that's when everything is going to come to fruition. And that's when you see them acting up more and more. These people hate you, and they can't even give you a reason why they hate you. They just hate you for, just nothing. And the sad part about it is when you get a president who condones all this stuff, and he has a message of the same behavior, so you know it's going to embolden the people. Y'all know y'all ain't never seen white people this bold. You know, usually for the past 20, 30 years, they were trying to hide it. Now, you know, of course they were bold when they had the laws and stuff back in, you go back before the early 70s, go back to the 60s, 50s, 40s, and 30s, yeah, they were bold. But you know, since they came with new legislation that wanted you to feel like you were halfway equal, you know, they kind of kept that stuff bottled up inside. Donald J. Trump came into office. Shoot, he got these folks all trumped up. Let me tell you something. They got a new boldness. Don't you watch Facebook, YouTube, and see all the stuff that they say, and there's nothing for them to use the word nigger now. Mm. It's just second nature now. Nigger, 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 nigger. You know what I'm saying? That's who we are. Mm-hmm. But believe it or not, now I love those people. The ones that are just racist and don't mind showing it, I like them. Those of you know what you're dealing with. But it's the ones that, they'll smile in your face, work with you. The next thing you know, they'll put some BS on Facebook. And you were like, Susie said that? Yeah, that was in Susie all the time. It was in Susie all the time. But you didn't know. It's like, we used to sit down and have lunch together. You sat down with the devil and had lunch with him. Susie, she just had the horns that's to come through that blonde hair. It could have been brunette. But this is what you deal with. And it's a shame. And these are the people, but the crazy thing is, I know you'll see they got off the lesson. The crazy thing is, you cannot make these people believe that they're not going to heaven. Because Christianity has put a spin on heaven to them. First of all, they're thinking somebody floating out there in the wild blue yonder. Mm-hmm. Secondly, they think is for it and everybody. And thirdly, they actually believe they're going to be there. I know I probably get put on TV with this one. But this is what we did this message on the kingdom. Y'all don't find it strange? All of these people have had a kingdom and ruled. Why all of a sudden when Hamashiach talk about his people being you, and your kingdom and you ruling? Now all of a sudden everybody want to be a part of your kingdom, take it over. Isn't that crazy? And this is why he's not going to let them in. Because they don't know how to just sit there and behave. They're going to want to take over. Every time that's what they do. But Yahuwah going to humble them so this time they ain't going to be able to do nothing. And the sad part about it is I'm going to give them a double portion of what I gave you. And y'all know what Yahuwah did to us. Could you imagine getting a double portion? But that's what they get. He said they get a double portion.
So instead of 1 foot getting cut off, we cutting off 2 feet.
Cutting off 2 feet.
Is that time-wise too?
Mm-hmm.
Is that time-wise too?
Yeah, that's time-wise too.
Instead of 400, say 100?
It's going to be long days, I know. And I told people they better hope you're not count prophetically. Well, 1,000 years equal day. Let me tell you something. And see, and they don't understand when he said he's going to give their children or their people to us, and he's going to sell them to the and if we're going to sell them to the Sabians. And these nations are going to have their way with it. These nations are going to have their way. Because, see, I don't really think these people understand what they did and to whom they did it to. See, I wish I had brought my pocket.
I got it.
Where's that scripture? One of y'all might know where it talks about how the people going to say, how can it be that the people we had in much derision, we counted their labors as nothing? It's how can it be that there's a lot of Yahuwah?
Is it, how can it be that thought or said that they be gods? Is that what you're saying?
Okay.
And Baruch, for some?
I like that one. But this is talking about the nation.
But they had his messengers in derision, and look, when the Lord spoke unto them, they made a sport of his prophets.
Not that one.
It's in the wisdom of Solomon.
Yeah, it was like, so how can it be the people we had in much derision? How can it be that they're counted as a lot of his people? I ain't read that in so many years.
Oh, the wisdom of Solomon 5.
I think it is.
Then shall the righteous man stand in great
That's
boldness.
it. Read it loud.
Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors.
So read that again real slow. Listen to that real good. The righteous man is going to stand where?
Great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him.
Before the face of such has what? Afflicted him.
And made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. And they, repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit, shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of Elohim, and his lot is among the saints? Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness has not shined unto us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us.
That's it right there. That's him, ain't it?
That's on Wisdom of Solomon 5, 1, 2, 6.
That's what they're gonna say. They're gonna be in utter disbelief. The people that they spit on, hanged, and everything. I was like, how can it be? People we saw that had much derision. Because you don't see, you let them tell it. You haven't done anything or contributed anything to society. Past, present, or future. And this is the attitude the nation have when they look at you. And this is how you know they operate in deceit. Because anybody goes study history, everything that what they call modern today, the ideas behind it came from black civilizations. Everything. Without the black civilizations, you cannot have a white civilization. Impossible. First of all, they had no writings. It was the blacks that educated them. The math, the sciences, you name it. It got so bad to where even with the English language, without the black languages, you could not even have an English language. There's a lot of things we say right here in English, don't know the origins of it's black. Like the word okay. Okay comes from a black language. It was not in the English language. And what do we call the English language? Don't we call it a bastard language or a bastardized language? Because the English language is so finite until without the addition of going back and using the Latin, some Greek and all, you can have an English language. You might well have about 3 or 4 words. I'm just playing, but you know you're going to have that many. It's a bastardized language. And most times we tend to think that these languages come from the European. Even when we get into Greek, and we start getting into Latin. But that becomes because of ignorance. Most people know the original Greeks were black people. But y'all know that, right? Y'all know the original Romans were black? Y'all know that, right? Because there's some of them like, wait a minute. The original Romans were black.
Carthaginians.
Yep. And see, Rome was divided into East and Western Rome. Most time you hear about Rome, you start hearing about it when the Europeans came down. Most people know the Byzantine were black. The Byzantine Empire was black. They done it just like they done in the Hebrew scriptures and stuff in the artifacts where they go, now if you go look at a picture, but if you can go back and look at original artwork of the Byzantine Empire, you have black Romans in that land. Matter of fact, y'all ever, you familiar with the, y'all familiar with, what's his name, Idi Amin? Y'all seen the movie The Last King of Scotland? Yeah. But y'all know the history of, he actually was the last king of Scotland. Or black anyway, because the original Scots were what? The original Scots were black. That's why when people know, people think people be lying when they say King James was a black man. King James was a black man. King James sat on 2 thrones at one time. Anybody know what 2 thrones there were?
King of Scotland and King of, not Wales.
England and Scotland. Mhm. King James, just like Beethoven, most people don't understand. I messed my class up one time. I told them that Beethoven was black. Y'all ever seen a bust or a statue of Beethoven over in England in the museum? He's not white. Y'all ever seen a statue, a painting of, matter of fact, all the painting of, y'all ever heard of Ivan the Terrible, the Russian? Y'all ever seen his paintings over in their museums? They're black. Him and his son with little short black afros. But this is the history stuff that's hidden from our people. There's not a place where you see a white footprint that there was not a black footprint preceded. So when you, let me go back to, when you see what I say, King James black, Beethoven was black, Shakespeare was black. See, y'all don't understand the history of the Moors in Europe. When you see that word swastika, most people associate swastic, it always comes from the word swarthy. And there's a popular word you hear in English that derives from that same word. Steward. Beethoven, Shakespeare, all of these people were of the house of Stewart. S-T-E-W-A-R-T, however you want to spell it. Some people spell it S-T-U-A-R-T. But it's all the same word. And the house of Stewart dates all the way back to who? The Moors. Matter of fact, most people, does anyone know where the swastika comes from in the first place?
African symbol of
Hinduism, something right? It's a Hindu symbol, right?
No, it's not a Hindu. It became a Hindu since thousands of years later, but it originated in Africa. In fact, it goes all the way back to Egypt. Now, if the swastika goes back to Egypt, which you know there was no such thing as Europeans during that time, where would they get it from? If it's not of their culture, I'm telling you, they borrow and steal from other cultures. Everything starts with black civilization. Everything starts with the black
I got a
civilization.
question. Well, according to my public school education, the Byzantine Empire came after the Roman Empire. Now, maybe they miseducated me on purpose or by accident, but could you, I know you said it was Eastern Rome and Western Rome.
Right. Think about this. I'm glad you said what you said. According to your what?
Public school education.
Public school education, they only teach one side of the history of Rome. And that's the European side.
Right.
They don't go back to the side where Rome was black. Because then what does it do to them?
Negates their so-called contribution.
Exactly. You ever notice when you go to all the artifacts, you never see these Europeans in these artifacts, but they're always black? Even when you go to the catacombs of Rome, all the history that we see about Christianity, the disciples and everything, were they black?
That's the story.
With afros? I wish we had time to sometimes just do like history classes. We can do like PowerPoints and put up all of the stuff that we have to show.
Left and down.
That's why you never see the Pope over in the Vatican. You never see him praying and kneeling before a white or European, quote unquote, was supposed to be a statue of Mary and baby Jesus. What color is it? It's always black. But these are so-called Romans, as we say over in Rome in the Vatican, because they know. They know. We're the ones who don't know. It's just like over in the land of Israel. You'll find it strange. You go to the museum over in Israel, the artifacts they showing you, you got the prophets and everybody, just black as they want to be on. But you look at a white or European people in the land that said that they're the people. That's crazy. Then they want to tell you that they turn white over time. So I guess all white people turn white over time then.
Or they say because of climate change.
Yeah, they all want to go with climate change. Now, ain't that much climate change in the world. You can put a black person in Alaska, 100 years. 100 years later, they're going to be black. All of these people, that just done robbed history. I mean, I got into an argument with a person, I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago. We were arguing about the Vikings. And I told him, say, you know one of those such things, white Vikings now. I said, you do know the Danes and all these people, the Vigaslavs and Vigoslavs and all these people, these were black people. I said, your Vikings were black people. I had to finally go give him some artifacts on. So I'm going to show you what the Europeans are. I'm going to give you straight European sources and let you see what they wrote about the Danes and all these people. The Celtic people. He didn't believe the Irish were black. I said, you know where you get the word Irish from? I said, the word Irish comes from irate. I said, you had a black warmongering tribe, a clan of people in this land, and they was always going to war. And this is why they call them Irish, because it comes from the word irate. I said, the Celts were black people. I said, the Anglo-Saxons were black people. I said, you know what, we get the word, we said Anglo, do y'all know where the term angel come from?
Anglo?
It comes from Anglo. Because the word what? Anglo-Saxon only means angelic sons of Isaac. Isaac's sons. But who were the people of that land? Y'all, who were the people in what's so-called, do y'all know where the word England come from? Angelic. And you know what? My grandmother used to say something all the time. It wasn't until I got grown that I realized how right she was. Because it used to be so funny when she would say it. She was like, boy, you did your English homework today? You know, old people say English. They'll say English. But do y'all not know that's the correct pronunciation of it? England comes from Anglo. Y'all didn't know that? The Anglo-Saxons were a black people. As a matter of fact, I got in trouble in college one time, but we had to write a paper, and it had to be on Saxon literature. So when my teacher asked, I said, excuse me, I said, now, which Anglo-Saxons are we writing on? I said, is the black ones or the white ones that came along later? She looked at me, I gotta tell you how that passed. She like, what do you mean? I said, you know the original Anglo-Saxons were black people. I said the word Anglo-Saxon is just an English breakdown of my angelic sons of Isaac. I said, that's why. Let me ask y'all something ask everybody here a question. Who do all British people trace their heritage back to?
Brits.
That one queen that everybody thought was white, but turned to be black.
Abraham.
More so with the throne of David. That's why you meet a lot of British people tell you that they're what? They call themselves British Israelites, and that they're the 12 tribes of Israel, instead of whites in America or what?
The lost tribes.
Yeah, the lost tribes.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, because when they went into a land, the original inhabitants of that land were black. Remember, the Moors were in that land before. You had black in the land of what we call Europe before any white person or light-skinned person came up in that land. Because remember, the Moors were ruling all of Europe.
Said
You-
Russia included, right?
Yeah, Russia included.
So that raises the question then. Where do these white people come from if climate change is not their reasoning for being here? Where did they come from?
Gehazi children.
Is that what I'm saying?
Those are Gehazi's descendants.
Gahazi.
Mm-hmm. You remember when Laban had leprosy?
Mm.
And the prophet did what? Healed him of the leprosy. And Laban tried to give him what? Gifts. But Gehazi overheard him when the prophet left, what did he do? He went back and he lied and he got the gifts in. And then Elisha asked him where he had been, but he already knew where he had been and what he done. And he said that same curse of leprosy that was on the bond, that's going to be placed on who? You. And he said, your seed shall be white forever. See, we call these people Europeans and all that stuff, but according to the scripture, white people are considered or called what we call, and this is not me, this is the scripture, they are called lepers or clean lepers.
Yeah, you're right. Clean leper.
I said, this is why a lot of times you can't deal with the scriptures with people because they don't know this stuff is in here. Do you not know they have white skin? It's a curse in the Bible.
Unscrupulous lepers.
You couldn't even live amongst Israel with white skin. And you damn sure better not have no blonde hair.
That's right.
You will show enough disease and lepers. You can have that. And the only way you can come back and live amongst the people with that white skin, it had to be solid white. Because be no vitiligo. Spot off. It had to be all the way white or all the way black.
And you know, Moreh, even to go further, when you said it was blonde hair, it said in the Torah, if it's found in it one thin blonde hair, just one strand.
You got to get up out of
You
there.
gotta get about just one strand.
You can't live amongst them. And the only way you come back, that skin had to be solid. One color. It's going to be all white, like with that vinyl, or it's going to be back the color it's supposed to be. And every hair on that head had to be totally blonde, all the way blonde. It can't be no mixture of that. And I know people don't like to hear this. They don't even know that's in the scripture. And because they don't read, they want to get upset with you when you go teach and read something that's in the book. So if the people in the world today are Israel, so you mean to tell me Israel has turned to a nation full of lepers? You got to be kidding me. I don't think so. You know the Most High ain't coming back from no nation of lepers. Y'all know, I know y'all. Oh, no. It's a shame we have to even go through all this. And I just got to the point, y'all, I'm just gonna teach. I don't care who it offends, because if it offends you, that means you're not in the place where you need to be. You haven't read what you need to read. And it always comes with other people. I mean, you know, anybody that knows me know I'm a people's person. When I go out on the streets and stuff, I don't just help black people myself. If somebody asks me they need help, I just help them. That's me. Now, when it comes to this book, I'm going to keep it Israel. And I'm going to lift up my people. If I get to the point where I got to tear yours down and lift them up, so be it. And it ain't like I'm deliberately tearing you down. It's just, I'm going to tell you what tears people down, the truth. Let me tell you something about the truth. People would, before they put on the truth, they'll just rather wear a butt-naked lie.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because the truth, this thing is heavy. When I say it'll unscathe some stuff. And what I love about the heart of our people, let me tell you how I know, no matter how they try to project us in the media as being all bad people and stuff like this. Let me tell you how I know, as Israelites and as a people of color, African Americans or whoever, even when it comes to our Latino brothers and sisters, everybody, let me tell you how I know our heart is pure. And let me tell you how you know a certain demographic of people's heart is not pure, it is wicked. Name me one time throughout all of our time being a Christian before Yahuwah removed the scales from our eyes. Did we ever fight against white Jesus? We love white Jesus more than white people themselves. But y'all don't find it strange? Soon as you put his color back on him, all of a sudden, that thing cuts people to their heart. It gets to the point where they say, now, he wasn't white and he wasn't black. He's olive skinned. And I know damn well when I go to the grocery store, there's only two olives I've ever seen in my life. Black and green. Yep. And not to this day, I've never seen a green person walk this earth. Shrek and Hulk is about the closest I've got. The closest I've got to it.
And then there's the one where they just mystify them all together. He's all the colors of the nation, sees all our colors. And it's like they forget that this man came from a tribe. And it's not a fantasy person. Like it's a real
right.
person.
He came from a tribe of people. So how is it all these? No. But it's the strangest thing. As soon as you open up the scripture, you show him and get the proof. No, he was a black man. No, he wasn't olive skinned. He was not green. Now, if you want to go to black olives, yeah, I can even. As a matter of fact, he probably just about the complexion of a real black olive. Because according to a Revelation, his feet look like brass, which has been what? Burned in a furnace. He was a deep chocolate man. Like your boy. No, like me and Zakaria would back there. But he was a deep chocolate, he was a dark man. But you know, you got people fight against that. But I'm telling y'all, man, this stuff is so rooted and ingrained in these people's heart, they cannot do it.
That's only in America, not in Europe.
No, Europe you're totally different.
Question.
Oh, go ahead.
So in their education system, do they teach differently than they do here in the United States?
Some places they do. Well, I tell you what. even when it comes to like the history and stuff, and that's why I said like America's smart. Because a lot of these Europeans, they're the prince, the people of the prince. And you have to go back to the other lesson to get that. There's a reason why I always say that history in America only goes so far back. You would think that chattel slavery and infernal slavery only started with Europeans. But that's not true. Who was Israel enslaved to before the British and the Portuguese?
The Arabs.
The Arabs. Now, who was enslaved to the Arabs?
Africans.
Israelites. So, but you ever know when you go back and read the literature of the Arabs law, they never tried to hide who they had in captivity. They let you know they were Hebrews. Matter of fact, they go from that, let you know they were the people of the book. It's only when you get to American history, U.S. history, that they omit that part and leave that out. Because they cannot let the people know in America who the slaves were. They can let them know that those were the children of Israel, that they've done like this. Matter of fact, do you not know the British and the Portuguese refused to buy slaves from the Arabs? It wasn't until the Arabs had to show them in the writings that it was prophesied that we were supposed to be slaves. And they referred to us as the people of the book. And what book were they talking about? The Hebrew Scriptures. And that's when they start participating in the slave trade. But America, in the U.S. history stuff, they don't go before the 16th, 17th century for a reason. Because all them writings tell you who these people were. Y'all seen that movie Shaka Zulu?
Mm-hmm.
When they had them slaves, and you got Shaka's people, and you got another group of people in all these shackles and stuff chained up, and I think that guy, he might have been French. You remember Shaka Zulu, the one that was examining the slaves law? And they asked who were these people, because the man was trying to figure out why would they have their own people in shackles and chains, enslaved them. He told us that these be the wandering Jews. Yeah. Man, if y'all haven't seen Shaka Zulu, y'all need to go see it. That's a good movie. He said these be the wandering Jews. So they knew who they had all the time. Matter of fact, I think that church is in Virginia. There's a church, I got the photos in my phone. It was the original slave church where they used to allow the slaves to have church. And when you look at the side of the pews, each pew they got their name inscribed in them. And it's written in Hebrew.
Oh, that's in Savannah.
Is it in Savannah? Okay then. The slaves etched their names and stuff in the side of the pews, and they got it in the Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about modern Hebrew either. Because these people know who they are. You think I got lost like that again, aren't they? So, and this is what we have to do as a people. It's got to the point where they want to put you in a position where you're afraid to say who you are and afraid to identify with your culture and your heritage. Now all of a sudden, they want to call us black identity extremists. all these folk out there talking about, make America great again and white power and all that stuff. They notice they're not calling them white identity extremists. They don't call you nigger, coon, spook, purple gums. What are some of the other terms they use?
Jungle bunny.
Jungle
Bunny.
Jungle bunny and
Somebody just said, tar baby,
tar baby and
watermelon.
Gator bait.
gator bait and
Gator bait, right?
all this stuff. But as soon as you say, no, I'm not these things. I'm not African American. I'm not black. I'm not none of these things. No, I'm Yashra'al. I'm Israel. There's a problem with that. They want to accuse you of stealing everybody's culture. There's nothing in their culture that's their own. But they want to accuse you of wanting to usurp or steal somebody's culture. And I tell people, we try to place a lot of validity in what they're doing in the land of Israel, what the Jewish people do. No. That's not how you validate who's Israel. You don't have to validate who's Israel about who's been in the land the longest. And about what you call it, DNA. Because the first thing you say you want to prove your Israelite heritage, what's the first thing they want you to do over there? They want you to test DNA, say if you have the a certain DNA makeup. You don't need that.
What do they call it, the Cohen gene or something?
Yeah, the Cohen gene and all that kind of madness. Only thing you got to do is go in them African nations and look at their customs and see how many thousands of years they've had these customs. And you'll see that more than likely, these are the people versus these people over here in the land. Matter of fact, the people over in the land, matter of fact, they had a certain sect of Jews when they was so-called getting ready to build this temple and stuff. They had to go to Africa and get the Kohen from there to authorize or ordain them to be able to do their services and stuff. But they said they're the people. That's crazy. And what was the problem when it came? You remember when they did Operation Solomon?
The philosophies.
Yeah, when they started bringing the philosophies over there. And the problem they had with bringing the philosophies, that would have been the last group of people I would have brought over there. Because now, what happened with the philosophy of the Ethiopian Jew, all of a sudden, the people in the land of Israel, they don't have any kind of documentation that can ever prove that they were Israelites or in the land, and they don't have any kind of historical artifacts that prove that they were in the land. And you know what happened when they brought the philosophers over there? They came with documentation and artifacts and everything showing that we're Israel. Wow. And what's happening with the philosophers in Israel now?
Being beaten.
They treat them like dogs. It's some of the philosophers over there, they let their parents come. And some of the children, their parents been separated from the children. Oh my goodness. The children came over there when they were like 7 or 8 years old. Now they in college in the Americas because they still haven't granted them citizenship to be able to come to Israel. They took the parents in now, but not the children. You got a lot of displaced philosopher children who are not with their parents because like do y'all know how long Operation Solomon took place?
Well, I know over 50 years now.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And what did they start doing? The women came over there, they started injecting them and stuff and made them sterile where they can't even have children. That was a huge problem over there. All the Ethiopian philosopher women over there can't give birth. And you know why they did that. What did one thing the Egyptians found out about us in that land? They said these Hebrew women are what? these some fertile women. We'll go in 10 to your 2 million. You give it about 50 years. It's about 4 million to your 2 million. Yep, they gave these women these shots and stuff, and they can't have children. And the sad part about it is, they secretly done it till they got caught.
We'll be surprised at doing it over here.
Yep, they started over, they did it over here. When, I'm pretty sure y'all familiar with Margaret Sanger and the eugenics movement. How that was one time period. You remember all our women were having hysterectomies? I'm talking about y'all when he was born. I'm talking about y'all remember. Hold on. I know back even when my mom was, when I was small, like in the early 70s, even before then, my grandmother talked about all of these women, everyone black, after they had children, all of a sudden, all of them were having a hysterectomy. And there was no need for them to be having no kind of ailments or nothing. The doctor was just recommending making them get these things. And that was started with that eugenics movement. Not started with because that predates, the time period I'm talking about. But even then, because they felt like what? We were an inferior people, they didn't want us breeding and bringing forth all of these children. It didn't have nothing to do with us being inferior. And now they're trying to figure out why the European has the slowest birth rate and the fastest death rate now. It's a reason. It's the Most High. Just like in Egypt, what they do? Did they put out babies that would drown them and put them in the river and stuff? When the Most High came to whip their behind, what's the first thing he did? Did he turn the river to blood? It's a reminder. He's going to do the same thing here. He's punishing these people. He's getting them. That's why now you see them dying like crazy. And what was the number one plague that ate us up? Y'all know that's not. It's one thing that did damage to us as a people. Y'all remember 1980s and 90s?
Okay.
Cocaine, let me tell you, that crack epidemic. Do y'all know why 70% of the prison population is black now?
2 strikes. Okay.
All because of crack. And they deliberately done that. The war on drugs was just another name for the war against Israel, or the war against blacks. They let our communities, they allowed them to become flooded with that stuff.
Yeah, the movie American Gangster talked a lot about that.
Yep.
With Denzel Washington and I forgot the other guy.
That was Harold.
Yeah, Harold, but still, it's still a war on the war on drugs. Now what's the Most High doing? When I tell you the opioids are what? When I say it's lighting these folk up left and right. But let me tell you though how wicked people are though. So y'all, you have to be able to identify wickedness. Satan has some children right here in America and on this earth. He has a people. Now with us, during the crack epidemic, didn't they come up with this thing about some 3 strikes and all this stuff? They want to put you away and lock you away a long time. But now that the opioids are what? Ravishing Europeans in these suburbs and these communities and stuff. Not even in certain cities too, all of them on it. You notice they're not trying to put them away, but they're trying to come up with programs to help them in all. So they had to let them be able to go away and try to fight and come off of this stuff. They're what? They're putting stuff into place to keep from putting them in these prisons. We want to get them help. Back what time did they try to find to get you help? That's what wicked people, y'all. That's the definition of wickedness. If they black, let them die. Well, is that the same thing Pharaoh them said? But now all of a sudden, there are people that's on this stuff. And it's eating them around. I mean, you got to go look at all the videos and stuff. Kids in the backseat crying. Their parents in the OD just knocked out on the front seat of the car dead. And they're not even telling how bad it is. It's way worse than what they're telling.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad that what they've called, I think if they haven't done it, they're finna get ready to declare a state of emergency. But the Most High, he getting his people. He get ready to get us out, and he ready to get ready to deal with some folks. He's getting ready to deal with some people. He's going to deal hard, heavy, and frequent. And we just got to make sure we stand in a set apart place. You ain't got to go to Washington in the march. You ain't got to do none of that. There's only one march I'm going to be in. We march the hell out of here. March I'm going to be in. That's the one. The one we said when the saints go marching. Yeah, because they, let me tell you something. They see the handwriting on the wall. And let me tell you something. That's why it's so important that y'all, we have to learn to love each other, just make it work. Get beyond our differences and all. Because let me tell you, when it's time to go, we're going to have to be in a card. We're going to have to be there with each other and be there for each other. We're going to have to do that. And y'all know, well, black people, I know y'all might think I done segued into something else with this. Don't we know how to party? I've been thinking about the times when I used to go to the club and stuff. I used to have house parties and my family get together and just have a good time. Let me tell y'all something. When the Most High get his children out of here, you haven't seen a shindig or a hoedown. You talk about some party and having a good time. Let me tell you something. When you can get amongst your people and love on your people without an outside interference, it makes all the difference in the world. And this is what the Most High Yahuwah he's doing. He's separating Israel from everybody. And he's going to allow them and teach them how to love each other and love on each other without an outside interference. Because all the outside interference does is corrupt us. Do y'all not know what went on in the wilderness? That outside interference. You know, Israel didn't just come in that land. It was the folk that came up out of there with them. And it's got so crazy. I mean, I can't hardly watch television anymore. I'm trying to figure out what it is about our people. How did everybody in Hollywood got to go find somebody white to marry? Something is wrong with that.
What fools?
Something wrong with that. And the sad part about it is, when the Most High do come, you have to get rid of these folks. He said, though you walk hand in hand with the wicked, he said, that don't mean that they're not going to go unpunished. He's going to get them. You'll be just like Lot's wife. Then we'll pick it up next week. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm trying to do it without sounding too prejudiced.
Yeah, we would sound like you were trying.
Oh,
Somebody need to
I don't know what make these people gonna wanna go marry a dog. This thing is recorded.
Yeah, that's not.
Oh, that's not gonna
Yeah,
be.
Solomon, did you stop it?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.